What's up, fam? It's your boy, Coach Crump, and another episode of the Boy Man King podcast. And I'm with my main man, Chizzy. Say what's up to the people.
What up? What up? What's going on, man? How you? Not
Bruh,
feeling.
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. Grateful for another opportunity, man, just to break bread with you, bro. But, man, you wanted us to really talk about a particular topic that our community let us know. Two main topics our community want to talk about. Leadership as it relates to just as a man, and then leadership in relationships, right? And particularly the most intimate one with your significant other, right? And so we both have a huge amount of experience in this, learned a lot. I don't know if we consider us experts, but you can consider us experienced. Yeah, for sure.
I like the term experience.
Yeah.
Experts assume that you don't really have anything to learn. So I like the term experience. One of the reasons why I think this is important to highlight is because obviously you and I are in different spaces in terms of a relationship. Obviously you have the family nucleus, your wife, your kids, post-divorce, trying to figure this thing out, trying to reshape myself. But I knew there's a lot of brothers similarly, like myself and like yourself, who are having relationship challenges, who are in relationships. And, I think this is a conversation that's necessary to have because the nuances can lead you to certain outcomes, both negative and positive. So I'm going to speak for the single brothers, for the guys who are in train, as they say, to relationship. But I think it's important that we understand the need for healing and the need to take responsibility for past choices. As you know, I talk openly about,
I love where we're going. I wasn't expecting, but I love it where we're going. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a hard pill to swallow for another brothers. A lot of brothers feel like if I'm not in a relationship, or it's the girl's fault, or it's them, this whole relationships are very different now. The dating world is very different now than what it was, 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Can you say that the dating world? Because I'm hearing from you guys. So obviously, I'm 20 years out of it. But what I'm hearing is that it's not only different, but it's different from what it's ever been. Like, it's never been like what it is now. Like, it's stuff that no human had to ever deal with, the level of distraction and access that we have today when it comes to the dating world.
Yeah, it's very different from the sense that before you kind of have to be in some social settings, meet someone, talk to them, get their number, and kind of be isolated when you're trying to determine if this is a suitable partner for you. Nowadays, with the advancement of social media, you can meet somebody, you can see somebody online, drop in a DM, start talking to them. You never quite know who this person is in truth until you physically sit down and have a conversation with them. And so that causes levels of, it's nuanced in ways that can lead to mistrust. It can lead to different things that probably highlight the deficits in your character. Because, as we know on social media, you sometimes see visual pictures of women doing any number of things. And you have this ideal that if you meet this person, that, she's going to be all these things that she's put out in the atmosphere. But in truth is, people catfish, and then you get to meet them, and you're like,
catfish is heavy in the streets right now. Catfish is heavy in the streets. I got an Instagram marriage story, though. One of my friends just got married, and he had 2 previous Instagram relationships. So and he learned from the 2 because one of them was really serious, and he said that she taught him how she was. He just didn't pay attention. And so when you said take accountability, he was like, I fell in love with Instagram, but she was posting pictures, kind of sexual, not like revealing, but just like showing her assets. You know what I mean? In a way that you can tell she would. So, and then what he didn't process was she always wanted to take a picture every time they go out. Like he has to take 100 pictures, and she got to find the right 3. And tomorrow he got to do it. And the next day he realized. So part of his vetting was, I don't want a woman who got so much attention and focus on herself on social media and fake life that she has no bandwidth to give me attention in real life. because everything is about her online and how she wants to be perceived as a personal brand or a personal person online. And me and my wife don't have to deal with that. So we don't post every day. We don't try to build our personal brand. So it's interesting hearing the dynamics that, the current marketplace has to deal with as part of the courting process. You know what I mean? Like, you want somebody very attractive, but if you got attracted to them from their attractiveness online, they're part of their addiction, and their dopamine is to keep that up even when they're with you. So now, like, they're not really doing it to get somebody. They're doing it to get attention. They love the attention.
And sometimes you have to question the why. Like, I get it if that's part of your brand and maybe your fitness model, maybe that's how you make your money in ways that's healthy. Because make no mistake about it, there are ways online, as we know, where you can post pictures and it's an unhealthy way to generate revenue.
But as long as we're grown adults and women know that half the reason people are liking your pictures, if you find, it's because you find nobody, your quote and your scripture and your workout routine.
Yeah.
That is not why people are consuming you. Like, we're visual creatures. Like, nobody's like, yeah, I mean, that quote you said really changed my life. It's like, you fine. I want to follow your page more. Like, that's half of the followers at the minimum.
At the
That's
minimum.
at the minimum. You know
And
what
so
I mean?
it's a different level of access as well that other potential suitors have. So if I find somebody on Instagram, and I'm not saying I have, I'm just saying that these are the nuances that you got to consider. So it can highlight some of the insecurities even within you that you probably never even thought you would have, because, in the past, you can meet a woman and you can get to know her, and without Instagram or social media, you won't have 50 or 60 other guys who are probably trying to get in her DMs. So you can kind of have an isolated experience to a degree, and then you kind of determine what her character is like, on a personal level. Nowadays, you kind of never really know what's taking place with social media, especially if you have a woman who posts a lot, who garners a lot of attention. And so personally, I don't really rock with social media like that. I understand that it can be used as a tool, but I'm very, very cautious. And
would you date a girl at this season of your life who had to post every day on social media?
No, personally, no. Again, I ask the question, why? If let's say you have
Post
a business
her,
that you're running.
not her business. She has to post her.
No, personally,
as a
no.
part of.
No, I wouldn't do that because, again, this is not an indictment or a judgment on anybody else that does that. But for me personally, I think that our experience should be our experience and should be shared between us. And so if I'm not even attracted to a showy a woman that's out there that needs to have everything put out in the social stratosphere, that's just not the type of relationship I want to have, because that creates different nuances that I don't even want to deal with at this stage of my life.
Yeah, I think this is a good segue to because I remember one time my wife was doing like a TikTok dance, with my daughter, and I was like, put a hoodie on. I'm like, you can't post that. Like, they did a dance, like, you can't post that. I'm like, yeah, you don't have a hoodie on. Like, they're not gonna see a dud. Like, I know how human beings are. I train them, I coach them, I mentor thousands of them. Like, they're not gonna see, oh, look at the daughter and mom doing a dance. They gonna see my daughter, who's now 17, who's a gorgeous young lady, and they gonna see their mama, who's fine and curvy. They go like, people gonna be looking at for other reasons, and I don't want you out there like that. That's not important. What's important is that you and your daughter dance and have a great time together. It's not to be on social media for people's consumption and to be looking and viewing you at a way that I don't really like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really want you even having that type of energy. Like, if you have a challenge of putting on a hoodie, then we have a challenge that's separate of all of this. You know what I mean? Just like me saying, hey, I got this motivational, but I really feel convicted to not wear a shirt or to wear a tank top while I do it. Like, there's something else going on in my head that I need to make sure that that's posted on social media so I can get a reaction. And I see what, like, what I mean? Like, I've been on social media actively since 13. And I think one time that somebody was curious about, me relationally.
Yeah.
And so like, I always say to people like, bro, like if people are sliding your DMs and you're married, you have to ask yourself, what are you putting out there? Whether that's a man or a woman, like what are you putting out that people can even feel like that's the vibe they're on? You know what I mean? And so on the other side, I'm gonna speak for the married brothers. Like you have to have those honest conversations. Like my wife will go to work out, she putting a headset on and she go into a private room
Yeah.
just because she's there to work out. Because again, it goes back to why you're there, Chizzy. It goes back to why you're doing this. Are you
Exactly.
there to work out, or do
Or
you
you there
really
to be
need
seen.
everybody to see you and get
Sure.
attention from other men and you married to me? Like
Yeah.
that's a separate issue that really you need to deal with. But as your husband, I'm not going to accept certain things. You know, and then like you said, now I don't have that issue, right?
Yeah.
But I know a lot of my brothers who are married, who are in relationships, who are battling with boss chick or bad chick or independent chick energy that has been birthed in the 90s, that kind of some people still have that on them for whatever reason, that they're not coming with a sense of, I want to be in partnership. I want to submit to my husband. I want to make sure I'm in a healthy relationship and respecting and honoring my man. A lot of experiences have been, that's not been the headspace that sometimes women bring to the table. And I'm grateful that hasn't been a battle of mine. It was just a conversation because, again, we got to educate each other. We got to hold ourselves accountable, but we also got to inform our partners on what's acceptable, because sometimes they are leading with good intentions. They do just want to have fun. They do just want to dance.
And it could be innocent. Yeah. It could be innocent.
But let me explain to you, you with me now, so things got to move a little differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I'm glad you brought it up, because my next sort of question or comment, or even stuff I was trying to spin on the conversation, was centered around preparation. So obviously for a lot of males, where I know personally, I'm aspiring to enter into a relationship space at at this phase of my life, to potentially get married. And so what I'm doing now for myself, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only brother who's looking at this, is what do I have to do as the man I am today to ensure that I'm ready and I'm in a position to now sustain a relationship? Not to say that I couldn't before, but as you get to different phases of your life, now I'm in my 40s, about to hit my 50s, there's a different expectation in a relationship that's now that I wouldn't have had if I was 20 or 30. And so for the brothers like myself who are single, I'm taking special current attention to really just shaping in my finances, shaping in my discipline, shaping in my spiritual routines, so that when it's time, when the Holy Spirit and God presents me with a partner, I'm now in a better position to be successful in that particular space. Not to say that I'm arrived and there's no longer work that needs to be done. So my question to you would be, now having arrived at a particular place or having some level of success in relationships, what do you find are the necessary pieces that you as an individual have to work on and have to do to remain at your highest level spiritually, financially, socially, emotionally, for your partner and for yourself?
So I first of all, the relationship manual for men, Wayne Levine, hold on to your nuts. Every man need to have that. You need to know those 8 priorities, right? Secondly, as a man thinketh, you need to understand the power of thought that creates your character and your circumstances. Thirdly, the way of a superior man. You really need to understand biologically and like morally at the feminine and masculine energy and how that affects people independently and interaction wise, right? But and particularly sexually. And then just understand. And I always tell my wife too, we're Christians. So if like faith-based wise, you talk about spiritually, but me and my wife are both Christians. So what does 1 Corinthians chapter 7 says? What does, 2 Peter chapter 3 says? Like what does, when you study 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4-8, what does that say? Like, and then ask yourself, on top of that, and the vows, and Ephesians chapter 5, verses 21-29, what are you guys fundamentally taking away from those scriptures? As it says, this is what a husband is, and this is what a wife is, and this is what a vow is, and this is what love is from the Bible. Are we on the same page about those definitions? So it's like, well, let's be clear about the definitions. Let's be clear about the biology. Let's be clear about the mindset. And let's be clear about our manual in relationships.
Right.
You know?
I was going to say, some people would look at this and say, well, what if I don't subscribe to a spiritually based relationship?
I'm not the guy. I'm
Right.
not the guy.
I was going to say, my answer is,
I'm not the
we
guy.
only have these conversations based on what we understand to be a guide for success. And if it's not centered around, our purpose to God, then
if you're not centered around Christ, I literally can't help. We'll just be spitballing and giving opinions and giving viewpoints and vantage points from personal experiences or stories from others and historical data. And I can't live off that premise. I don't live off that premise. Like, I bring it back to the word. I bring it back to God. Like, I kind of get lost in the sauce. My wife kind of gets lost in the sauce. What helps us is our personal accountability system to the word of God. And it convicts you and exposes you every time.
Yep.
As soon as you start pointing the finger and all that other stuff, you go back to the word, you like, I wasn't doing that. Like, I wasn't doing that. Like, I was
that's a beautiful, and that's even helpful for us single brothers, because at the end of the day, one of our colleagues said it the other day. He was on a poll. Shout out to Charles. He was like, I kind of function now as though I'm married, so that I know how to function and act when I get into a situation. You know what I'm saying? So if you're looking, you can, what I've learned, I can't ask of somebody that I'm not doing myself. So if I'm not reading my Bible, if I'm not really living by the tenets of the Holy Spirit,
and you outside wilding, you out in these streets.
Yeah. You got to be focused. You can't have this expectation that this woman is this pedestal thing that you're trying to have, but you're not doing the work within yourself to ensure that you match her energy and you match where she is, and you actually can guide and provide some level of direction because you have done the work yourself to find your purpose to go first. I think that's a key part. And I think the best way to shape that is when you're single, ideally, because now you can just focus on you and your relationship with God and how that impacts you first. And then when you get into a situation, you no longer have to have a consideration about what this other person needs, feels, and wants, and you don't have the baseline aptitude for yourself. So I think me as a single guy, I'm at a benefit at the space that I'm in, preparing myself, not just me, but preparing where I am financially, spiritually, so that when that time comes, I'm a little bit more equipped than I have been in the past. You know what I'm saying? It's funny because I had a conversation with someone else, and this is a sort of a high earning female, and she has a requirement that the next relationship she has, that her husband would have to have a prenuptial agreement. So we had a whole little conversation. So I know we got short for time. I want to get your take on prenuptials for a man versus a woman. I know sometimes we always assume that a man requires a woman to sell a prenup, but what's your take on a woman asking her man potentially to sign a prenuptial agreement?
I would, and my initial reaction is I'm fine with it because I don't want her money.
Exactly.
So I'm a man.
Yeah.
I mean, especially this age of day, like, I can take care of myself. I don't need your money to take care of me or my, like, so.
Facts.
Cool.
Facts.
Cool, bro. Like, I'm completely fine with that. I think women would have challenge with that. And I could be wrong. But my opinions of my vantage point is that, but like from a man, like, I'm coming in to take care of you. I'm coming in to take, like, I don't even process the idea of somebody else taking care of me. So,
yeah. I mean, but the truth is, you have some men that may feel emasculated by a woman asking them.
That's not her issue. That's your issue. You know what I'm saying?
Again, it goes back to my original point. It's important for you to set the groundwork for yourself so that when these conversations come up, it's not an issue. Because as you said, you don't need her for her money. Your job and your goal is to provide, is to protect, and to pastor as well. So, those things.
And I sorry to cut you off, Chizzy, but I know we gotta wrap up. But one of the things my friend told me too, who had money, he was just like, he told every woman that wanted him, because they know he had money to trap, like, my 2 daughters. Yeah. Like, you come after my 2 daughters. Like, they're middle school, high school. they're at that transition phase. Like, if that's going to be a problem for you, so no one never really, like really committed because like, they wanted to be primary, which is like, I'm just be. So I know a lot of people that once they get to 40 and been through life, they got their variables, bro. They just like, bro, this is it. So to all of y'all who in relationships, if all y'all working on yourself, all of y'all like trying to improve your marriage, it always goes back to you and God. Doing that work, having that identity, more important, having that clarity, so that everybody else can properly work along with you in any relationship capacity. So, man, on behalf of Boy Man King Podcast, we're going to put some resources in the description. We want you guys to tap in, level up, do what you have to do to make your relationships go to the next level, man. As we say on the Boy Man King Podcast, the journey continues.
continues.
We out.